Wilco.
And a Wilco from Peggy Watson. We're coming up on the T-minus 8-minute mark. Next major event that'll be occurring on the Falcon 9 is the engine chill event. That happens at T-minus 7 minutes. We open the pre-valves, feeding both the RP1 kerosene fuel as well as the liquid oxygen. And that'll go to the Merlin 1D engines. The liquid oxygen, we actually open a valve and we allow some of it to bleed off overboard out into the warm Florida air here in the early morning. And that'll begin chilling in the turbo pumps on those 9 Merlin engines to get ready for when we ignite the engines starting at T-minus 2 seconds. Also interesting to note, just several minutes ago, as we talked about early in the webcast, the International Space Station flew over Kennedy Space Center. And so that means the orbit planes are lined up. We're ready to go in just 7.5 minutes from now. Now, while we're getting ready to open the pre-valves, which is one of those what we might call significant events in the life of the Falcon 9 as we count down, we'll also be chilling in the upper stage engine. We'll hear that call out also in flight when we do some additional chill in at about 1 minute and 52 seconds.
Engine chill has started.
There's that engine chill announcement from Mission Control right on schedule. So now we just got about 50 seconds left as we continue to load RP1 onto the first stage. Falcon 9 is powered by liquid oxygen and RP1, which stands for Rocket Propellant 1, which is a highly refined type of kerosene. By the time we reach liftoff, Falcon 9 will have approximately 1 million pounds of fuel on board and will be burning 700 gallons of fuel per second at liftoff.
Stage 1, RP1 load complete.
There's confirmation there from Mission Control that we have RP1 load complete, and you're seeing great reactions from the AX4 crew there on the right-hand side of your screen with each one of these call-outs. You can tell that they are just as excited as we are to get them on their way to space.
A lot of time rehearsing, and now we're down to the last 6 minutes. We're also seeing some of the moist air as it condenses around the cold tanks. You can see that just at the top, Dragon above the second stage. Next major event coming up, Dragon is going to configure for terminal count, and they'll move on to internal power. Those are the batteries. We do have solar arrays, and you can see them right now as some of the mist clears. You can see the black portions of Dragon. So we've got solar arrays on part of the Dragon trunk, and then we also have batteries inboard. Now we have completed loading fuel on both the first and second stage. We're still loading liquid oxygen onto both stages. That'll wrap up at the T-minus 3 minute mark and the T-minus 2 minute mark. But right now we're waiting to hear the final updates to the crew.
Falcon 9 propellant tanks are pressurizing for strong bag retract.
That's good news for Mission Control.
Dragon is in configure for terminal count.
There we heard that we are pressurizing Falcon 9 for strong back retraction. The strong back is the tall structure standing right to the left of the rocket right now. And we pressurize Falcon 9 so that we can begin to retract that support structure away from the vehicle ahead of liftoff. Great view there of Dragon sitting
Strong back retract has started
on top of Falcon 9. And we'll look for those clamp arms around the base of Dragon just beneath those solar panels John was just talking about to begin opening up so the strong back can pull away. The strong back is used both to move Falcon 9 out to the launch pad ahead of liftoff and to provide all of the fuel and comm umbilicals that we're using in the lead up to launch. There are those clamp arms opening up. And then we'll see the strong back pull just about 2 degrees away from Falcon 9 in the final lead up to launch. Then at liftoff, it'll move to a full 45 degrees away from the rocket. Great live shots there of the capsule on board the rocket here.
Yeah, Ronnie, it takes about 20 seconds for the hydraulics to open up those clamp arms that held on to the second stage. Then about 30 seconds It's hard to see, but that strong back will move just a couple degrees away.
And with that, we are just about 30 seconds away from the expected call out that LOX load has been completed on board our first stage. As we mentioned earlier, that mist forming around the outside of Falcon 9 is totally normal. That's just some of that.
Stage 1, LOX load complete.
Some of that liquid oxygen that has now been fully loaded on board to stage 1, venting out into the warm Florida air and condensing into clouds.
So we continue to check off events here in the last minutes of the countdown.
Dragon is in terminal count and is on internal power.
And the confirmation a minute ago, we started the move into transition. And there on the left side of the screen and the right, you can see some of the watch parties, Paul.
Yeah. Absolutely. On our left side of the screen, you can see the school in India. And then the right side of the screen is the planetarium in Poland with students and fans of this crew cheering on what's about to be a momentous moment.
Yeah, good in the planetarium, keeping it dark in there for them. Okay, we're waiting to hear the confirmation that second stage LOX load is complete. That should be coming up momentarily.
Stage 2, LOX load complete.
There's that confirmation from Mission Control right on schedule. So the next major visual milestone we're likely to have from the outside of the spacecraft is going to be venting.
Dragon is in auto idle.
Confirmation there from Mission Control that we are in auto idle on board Dragon in that final minute and a half before launch. Now, we are expecting gas closeouts to be followed by some loud venting, and we're likely to see a larger cloud of liquid oxygen.
Gas closeout has started. Expect loud venting.
There's instructions to the crew, also right on schedule. And a great nighttime shot of Dragon sitting there at historic Launch Complex 39A with the AX-4 crew safely tucked inside with just over a minute to go until liftoff.
Seated left to right inside Dragon from this camera's perspective, you have Tibor Kapu there on the left-hand side. Then beside him is our pilot, Shubhanshu Shukla. Then to the other side
is armed. Falcon 9 is in startup and is now controlling.
Is Commander Peggy Whitson. And
Dragon
then
is in countdown.
on the far side is Sławosz Wisniewski of ESA.
Dragon, SpaceX, go for launch.
AX-4 is go for launch.
That is great news for Mission Control and from our crew on board Dragon. With that, we are just at T-minus 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
To lift off of AX-4.
Let's go AX-4.
15 seconds. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition and liftoff.
For three nations, a new chapter in space takes flight. Godspeed, AX-4.
T plus 30 seconds into flight with the Axiom-4 crew on board Dragon, headed to the International Space Station. Waiting to hear call-outs from the Falcon 9 engineering team.
Power and telemetry nominal. Stage 1 throttle.
We're throttling down the 9 Merlin engines. We're into the throttle bucket, preparing for max Q.
Max Q. Vehicle is supersonic.
We should begin throttling the Merlin engines back up now.
Stage 1 throttle up.
Mission Control confirming
Stage 1 Bravo.
that throttle up, and we
Copy,
are
1 Bravo.
hearing our commander, Peggy Whitson, call out the first abort mode. Each of these are a specific phase where if for any reason we had an in-flight
MVAC
abort,
show underway.
Dragon would abort to a safe location. So we're going to call out each of those milestones as we pass through them. We also just heard the call out for MVAC chill. We're going to trickle just a little bit of liquid oxygen now into the turbo pumps on board our Merlin vacuum engine on stage 2 in preparation for second engine start 1, which will of course be shortly after stage separation. Now, at this point, we are just about 30 seconds away from 4 events that are going to happen in rapid succession. The first one will be main engine cutoff, or MECO, then again followed by stage separation, ignition of that second stage engine, which we are already
Stage 1
preparing
Bravo.
for, as well as the first stage's boost back burn. With that confirmation from Mission Control that we are throttling the first stage engines down, we are expecting MECO at T plus 2 minutes and 26 seconds.
MECO. Stage separation confirmed. Stage 1 boost back startup and back ignition.
There we had confirmation of all 4 of those events. Incredible views on our screen here too as that boost back, as that first stage boosts its way back to Earth.
Stage 2 Alpha.
And confirmation
Copy,
from our
2 Alpha.
commander that we have entered the 2 Alpha abort mode. Of course, we're getting lots of cheers from behind us here at Mission Control here in Hawthorne, California as well. And at this point, our AX-4 crew is on their way to space. The view you have on your screen right now is our MVAC engine burning for that second engine first burn. We're expecting that SECO here, second engine cutoff, which will likely be called out over the nets as SECO in just a couple of minutes.
Stage 1 boost back shut down.
Confirmation that the boost back burn on our first stage booster is now complete, and the booster is heading back toward the Florida coast to attempt a landing at LZ-1. At this point, stage 1 is actually still coasting to apogee. We're about to deploy those grid fins so that we can steer the vehicle as it enters the Earth's atmosphere.
Dragon, SpaceX, nominal trajectory.
And that call out from Mission Control means
Dragon
that
copies, nominal trajectory.
everything is right on track.
T plus 4 minutes, everything continuing to go well, and we've got our first view of the crew. They're inside Dragon, second stage continuing to fire. Right now, second stage, just a little bit more than 1G. There's so much propellant that even with a 220,000-pound thrust engine, it takes a while before the G loads start to build up during the second stage flight. Meanwhile, first stage continuing to coast up to apogee, and actually now, as you can see on the bottom left of your monitors, we have begun coming back down. It takes a couple minutes to go up, a couple minutes to come back down. That first stage heading back to landing zone 1 at Cape Canaveral.
Dragon, SpaceX, nominal trajectory.
Words we love to hear.
Dragon copies, nominal trajectory.
Peggy Whitson echoing back the call up from the ground. Now, our next major event coming up will be in about 1 minute and 10 seconds. That's going to be the entry burn. That's where we're going to light a single center engine on the first stage. That's going to slow us down in preparation for entering the Earth's atmosphere again. We'll then have a landing burn about 1 minute later at T plus 7 minutes and 19 seconds. Now, for that one, we actually light 3 engines again. Then quickly once we've kind of jammed the brakes on, then we'll turn off 2 of the engines. We'll be down to just a single engine. Getting good views of the MVAC-D engine. There are a couple of cameras on the back of the second stage that give these views. And of course, the view inside the Dragon spacecraft showing the crew.
Dragon, SpaceX, nominal trajectory.
Continuing the call-outs right on time.
Dragon copies, nominal trajectory.
Now, right now, as Ronnie pointed out, the grid fins have been deployed, but they're not being used. Right before the entry burn, we'll possibly see a little bit of motion if we can pick up the first stage camera. That's just to check out. It's not until we actually get through the entry burn.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
That we get back in the atmosphere. And now here is entry burn call out. This is going to be about a 12-second burn. That's going to slow the vehicle down. You can
Stage
watch
1
that.
entry burn shutdown.
There you just saw on the left-hand side of your screen that first stage entry burn shutdown. Right now on your screen, we've got great views of our second stage engine, the Merlin vacuum engine, continuing to take our AX-4 crew to orbit. The next milestone for our first stage is going to be the landing burn, where we'll relight just the center engine, as John mentioned.
Dragon, SpaceX, nominal trajectory.
Again, things we love to hear.
Stage 1 FTS
Dragon
update.
copies. Nominal trajectory.
Continuing to get good communication from our crew on board Dragon.
Stage 1 transonic.
Confirmation that stage 1 is now transonic on its way back to LZ-1, which is just about 9 miles away from our liftoff location today. LZ-1, of course, is the site of the first successful landing attempt, and hopefully it will be the second time that this particular booster sticks its landing. Seeing those actuating of the grid fins that John mentioned.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
Stage 2 FTS saved.
Stage 1 landing confirmed.
That was a picture-perfect landing. That was great.
Absolutely stunning.
So coming up next for our crew, now that we've confirmed that booster touchdown, is going to be second engine cutoff, also called out as SECO. Then the second stage will coast for a few minutes until Dragon is commanded to separate from the second stage. There's our AX-4 crew awaiting that SECO call out here.
Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
Good continued burn from our second stage engine there. Now at this point, our crew is experiencing about 3 Gs in the lead up to SECO 1, which of course will be their first taste of microgravity.
SpaceX Dragon, Shannon.
There's confirmation
Copy, Shannon.
of the Shannon abort mode.
MVAC shutdown.
SpaceX Dragon, we have a nominal orbit insertion.
Nominal orbital insertion, SpaceX, and we had an incredible ride uphill, and now we like to set our course for the International Space Station aboard the newest member of the Dragon fleet, our spacecraft named Grace. Grace is more than a name. It reflects the elegance with which we move through space against the backdrop of Earth. It speaks to the refinement of our mission, the harmony of science and spirit, and the unmerited favor we carry with humility. Grace reminds us that spaceflight is not just a feat of engineering, but an act of goodwill. Benefit of every human, everywhere. Over to you, Chip.
Launch escape system disarmed.
10 minutes into flight.
वाटर राइड नमस्कार मेरे प्यारे देशवासियों वाटर राइड 40 साल बाद हम वापस अंतरिक्ष में पहुंच गए हैं और कमाल की राइड थी। इस समय हम 7.5 किलोमीटर प्रति सेकंड की रफ्तार से पृथ्वी के चारों तरफ घूम रहे हैं और मेरे कंधे पे मेरे साथ मेरा तिरंगा है जो मुझे बता रहा है कि नहीं हूँ, मैं आप सबके साथ हूँ। ये मेरी इंटरनेशनल स्पेस स्टेशन तक की जर्नी की शुरुआत नहीं है, ये भारत के ह्यूमन स्पेस प्रोग्राम की शुरुआत है और मैं चाहता हूं कि आप सभी देशवासी इस यात्रा का हिस्सा बने। आपका भी सीना गर्व से चौड़ा होना चाहिए, आप भी उतना ही एक्साइटमेंट दिखाइए। आइए हम सब मिलकर भारत के इस ह्यूमन स्पेस प्रोग्राम की जर्नी की शुरुआत करें। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद, जय भारत।
Thank you, Chuck. Drogie Polki i Polacy, dziś robimy ogromny krok w stronę przyszłości technologicznej Polski. Polski opartej na nauce, wiedzy i wizji. Niech ta misja będzie początkiem epoki, w której nasza odwaga i nieustępliwość kształtują nowoczesną Polskę. Dla nas i dla przyszłych pokoleń. Kosmos zawsze jednoczył ludzi. Zabieram dziś z ziemi cząstkę każdego z was. Waszej siły, waszej nadziei, waszego zaufania. W kosmosie nie jestem sam. Reprezentuję nas wszystkich. Z całego serca dziękuję wam za zaufanie. Kosmos dla wszystkich. Space for everyone. And with that, over to you, Thibault.
Thank you, Sław. 15 millió magyar emelt ma idáig. Támogatásotok olyan, mint a szürke hamu alatt nyugvó parázs. Belül csendben ízik, de ha fát dobnak rá, egyként lángol. Hálás és büszke vagyok, hogy a hazánkat képviseltem. Családomnak és barátaimnak köszönöm, hogy ti vagytok a legerősebb támaszaim. A ti hangotok hangosabb, mint a rakétánk, erőtök nagyobb, mint a gravitáció. A világűr mindenkié, a Föld pedig egyetlen. Mi a bolygónk 4 különböző pontjáról indultunk, de társakként, barátokként érkeztünk ide. A mi születésünk a tiétek is. Köszönöm mindenkinek szerte a világon, akik hozzájárultak ez a gyönyörű naphoz. Egynek minden nehéz, soknak semmi sem lehetetlen. Go X4!
And we are getting some views inside of the newly named capsule that the crew announced today.
On behalf of the entire SpaceX launch team, thank you. It's been a privilege to work with you so far, and we're excited for you to have a safe flight and a safe return home. Good things come to those who wait. Godspeed to the maiden crew of Grace.
And we thank you all as well.
And so with today's successful launch of Axiom-4, the teams at NASA's Johnson Space Center will continue to monitor Dragon's flight to the International Space Station over the next 28.5 hours. NASA's role in this journey really kicks in at a period called integrated operations, which begins during the spacecraft's approach to the space station and continues during the crew's stay aboard the orbiting laboratory, where they will conduct science, education, and commercial activities, and will conclude once the spacecraft exits the vicinity of the International Space Station. During integrated operations, the NASA, SpaceX, and Axiom space teams are all working in lockstep. The teams here are preparing for a docking of Axiom-4 to the space station at 7 a.m. Eastern on Thursday morning, and will continue to monitor the approach until then. But for now, that will be it for us here in Mission Control Houston, but we'll be back with you at 5 a.m. Eastern for docking, hatch opening, and welcome coverage. So with that, back over to you, Hawthorne.
Thanks so much, Sandra. Over the next 28.5 hours, the Dragon spacecraft Grace will execute a series of burns to gradually raise and line up the AX-4 crew for docking with the International Space Station in what we refer to as the activation and rendezvous phase of flight. In just a few minutes, the crew will change out of their spacesuits to get a little bit more comfortable for flight and will enjoy their first meal aboard the spacecraft. Over the course of their flight, they will also have a rest period that will last for about 8 hours. Before they arrive at the space station, we will have 3 potential opportunities to chat briefly with the crew on orbit. While we're hopeful that one of these will work out, none of them are guaranteed, as they're dependent both on crew schedule and ground station coverage. But if we are able to support, we'll make an announcement on our social media channels no later than 15 minutes before the event start time. In the meantime, be sure to keep tabs on this mission at axiomspace.com, and you can track Dragon's flight on spacex.com/launches.
And even if we aren't able to talk live with the crew, we will continue to provide updates on the mission across our social media channels. And then as Dragon and the AX-4 crew approach the International Space Station tomorrow, June 26th, we will pick back up with our live joint coverage of the AX-4 crew's docking to the station with NASA. Please keep an eye on Axiom Space and SpaceX social channels for updates, as there will be plenty of incredible moments to share with you over the next 2 weeks. From all of us at Axiom Space, thank you, SpaceX. Thank you, NASA, for making today possible. Thank you to ISRO and ESA and Hunor for pursuing this endeavor with us. What started with joy now continues on with grace. We will see you very soon.